see if screen all looks here.
Yeah, I think we can start. So yeah, welcome guys to the 24th dev call at Matchbox. Today we have two quite exciting topics on the agenda. The first topic is the first working VRF on StarkNet, which is very exciting. It's commit reveal based by Zurich's Nonsense. And the second topic we have on the agenda today is going to be a presentation of cartridge.gg, the gaming console that Terence has been working on, which looks really slick and nice. So it has a couple of really interesting features. So without further ado, I think we can get going. So Nonsense, the stage is yours for the BRF.
Sure, thanks. Hi everyone. You can call me Non if you want. That's kind of just the abbreviated version of my alias. So, the past few months, I've been working I've been experimenting slash brainstorming different um, ways to make a verifiable random function on StarkNet. And the most recent development I've come up with is a commit reveal VRF, similar to Chainlink is the most prominent VRF across the whole blockchain space, but it's the technique that I've done in this VRF. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys a quick-ish demo. Transaction times on the StarkNet testnet are a little slow, so let's just start by starting with the demo, and then there'll maybe be some um, idle time while the transaction settles. So let's start by requesting some randomness on the StarkNet testnet. And so let me make that transaction. So what I'm going through here is this contract is a dice game, a game where you request a random number, and then from that random number you get a dice roll result. So from the perspective of sort of a game or a lottery or a raffle contract, you would have a external function called request RNG that would call on the oracle address. So we'll do that in a second, but let me first request RNG here. And that will be routed to the Oracle contract here. I think I do have the code up for this. No, not on this one. I think I redeployed this Oracle recently, so so this contract is calling upon an Oracle, and the Oracle receives yeah, let's just pull up the source code here. And the Oracle contract receives the RNG request, will store some data about that request, and then emit a event saying that has received an RNG request, and that there's a unique identifier for that request that can be seen by the rest of the blockchain through this event emission. So in style of sort of commit reveal VRFs, there is an off-chain component that is listening for this event. And I can show you that here. You can run this. I call this the VRF client, and it runs. Right now, I'm running it locally. Usually, I run it in the cloud, so that there's a little bit more like redundancy. But what this is doing is checking the blockchain block by block for that request RNG event. And we'll see shortly the processing that it does after receiving an event. So, does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. So we're still waiting on that RNG request to be emitted onto the StarkNet blockchain. Then we'll see the callback function. The callback function is the other sort of necessary method that the a given game contract or whatever is using the VRF needs is they will have this function here that the VRF Oracle calls back that is basically a handler with the RNG and the request ID. And so with the RNG, you'll get a big N3 number, which is like something. Let me get the exact number here. So it's a 258-bit max number. So that's a pretty big number, and then you would, in the case of the dice game, we will receive that RNG, and then what we do is we do a division modulus, or essentially we do a division of 6, and the remainder will be between 0 and 5, and then we just add 1. So essentially, this VRF, will give you a fairly large random number that allows you to do potentially multiple sort of dice rolls, right? Like if you just took a bit mask and took a certain number of bits and then did a dice roll on that, and then the next, you could get several random results per RNG result, or you could even take this random number and then I think you could do some hashing on that to get even more sort of random results. The one thing to think about there, though, is gas cost, especially with the step limit of I think 1 million on StarkNet right now. If you're doing multiple processes on the randomness, then it would potentially expire. Let's go back to the client and see if it got it. Oh, not quite yet. That's unfortunate. Let me just see if this is pending yet.
Yeah, it seems.
Okay, so it hasn't actually.
Today.
Yeah, it's been quite slow. So I still think this is imminent. It was working on it, but so speaking of sort of performance or like steps, posted like a benchmark on here of what we have. So a given RNG, this is the callback or the verification plus a short callback is thousands steps. A lot of that is just due to some elliptical curve operations that take place over the sec-p curve. Perhaps using a different curve might make this like there's I'm aware that there's a Stark curve that might be faster, but I'm not entirely sure. And then The other thing is there's quite a few range checks and yeah, mainly there's a lot of range checks being used. I'm not sure if there is a fixed limit for that though. I know there is for bitwise built-ins, but luckily we have this fairly low. All right, let's double check this again. All right, looks like we're still processing, unfortunately.
On the SecP implementation, have you seen like there's a version that is included in Cairo Lang that uses some whitelisted hints?
I think I might be using that. So let me try to find. I got the newest version of Cairo here, and RNG Oracle, and go to verify.
Okay, yeah.
Sense. So I'm using this.
Oh, you are, yeah.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, using the start curve is going to be significantly more efficient. I think. And
I
then,
think so too.
yeah.
Okay.
And you're using kekek for the hashing function, or I saw that in the Oracle, or
I am using the Peterson hash. I was originally using kekek. Is this outdated?
Oh, I just saw an import in the Oracle file that you showed.
Oh,
maybe that's just a dead import, maybe.
Could be. Let's search for kekek. I might have some. Oh, Jesus.
Anyways.
Oh, that's interesting. So I'm still kekek. So I do a kekek hash for commit part. Peterson's is used during the verification. I should probably use Peterson here as well.
Yeah. Cool. Oh. Very cool.
Thank you. So while this is still sort of processing, we are running this sort of centralized version on testnet. I've been kind of brainstorming ways to sort of decentralize the VRF a little bit, at least sort of have like beacons, or you can think of like nodes of different VRF nodes, and then a given game can get randomness from each or a set of them, and I think that might help sort of the two situations where a VRF could be adversarial. In one of those being, I'm operating this VRF. I know the private key of it, so in theory, I could sort of snipe certain transactions that would be beneficial to me. And then the other one would be, the other sort of adversarial situation is as an operator of the VRF, I could just choose not to publish a certain randomness result at the expense of, because I like, You were breaking up a little. Could you repeat your question, please?
That was no question. It was just someone that didn't mute their mic for a second.
No worries. Yeah. So I'm sort of dealing with like an idea of sort of like kind of like a multi-signature sort of concept with like having multiple nodes. Then I think depending on what I've been seeing a lot lately is the VRF project sort of tries to come up with the sort of like ultimate all-in-one solution for every person's needs. or every like project, but I think having sort of each app or each dApp sort of say like, oh, I want this VRF operator and I want to have this many, parties that are running a VRF beacon sort of contribute to a single result. I think that might be a good approach. So I'll probably write a thread soon on that, probably on my page, and I'll probably also be talking a bit in the Matchbox Discord, and also there's a few Telegram groups. And then the other thing is thinking about the fee model. That's how Chainlink runs, and I think that's a fair way to run a VRF. So ideally, I'd want, fees to be paid in ETH, and I'm still trying to think if a fixed fee is good versus like a percentage of like the gas costs or something. So more to come on that. All right, let's check. Oh, location. Okay, well, I don't want to. Okay, so let's just, before we start looking at that error, I wonder if that's I don't want to look at that right now. So we can see right here that it gets the requests for 2 blocks here, and it found a request index of the hex value 6F, and then it gets a few more details about the request using that index. Those being mostly a, I think this is a UN256 value of sort of the commit number. Then using this commit value, it generates a unique random number and sends back this payload. So this payload, it's using the big number.
Oh, really?
Structure. So main thing to look at here is this C1. This is the random value here, and then this S, the X and the Y are used in the verification. Usually would go to, oh, I think it might have, actually, would this fail? No, it didn't. I wonder if there was a callback or something that messed up, because, so this is 111. Is this 111? This is 111. Okay. This might be just an error with the client then. Good. So we, on the DICE contract, we have an event that gets emitted, or 2 events, I think. And one of them, down here, we see the request. I'm not sure what that number is. And then this is the dice roll result that we got. So if we wanted, we could check. We would have to make this number into an integer, and then we would modify it by 6, and then we should get 1. So the dice roll here was 1. Oh, interesting. So it's still running, I think. Okay. But yeah, so it did work actually. So this is the dice roll here. Any other questions or areas you'd like me to sort of explore with you guys? Cool. So yeah, if any project, need some randomness, feel free to message me. I can assist in integrating, answering any questions. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Nonsense, for this walkthrough. It was really interesting. Do we have any questions left for him? If not, then I think I could have some more kind of high-level questions about VRF. All right, so I would love to know is like, you know, I know that you previously kind of looked into Randall, and there was kind of the issue with like verifying the proofs onto StarkNet, which was kind of too expensive, I think, was the issue. And now you've kind of went with a commit reveal scheme. What I would be curious about is why did you go with commit reveal? Because you know there are other ways to implement a VRF, right? So if you could like on a high level kind of talk about what made you go into the direction that you've now pursued, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, so there are firstly, I guess, alternative VRF methods that are you know, kind of asynchronous, sort of like what the user submits something and then third party kind of does some processing. And a lot of those alternatives rely on certain features of a given blockchain to be had. Is exposing the block hash, which is what I understand sort of the root of sort of tree structure, basically a hash of activity of a given block. That's not something that is definitely, that's like not in the near term for StarkNet. And there's some other on-chain, but like one of them is using like a confluence of dependent actions across the a blockchain, sort of influence single random number. I think I kind of wanted to focus on the way that would guarantee true randomness, in the sense that with this approach, there's no edge or like lopsidedness in the random result potentially. I didn't want anyone to gain any sort of statistical edge that would, you know, that would compromise any apps that are going to use it. And then regarding the DRAN sort of approach, so this is kind of a recent development, but the sort of core library that would theoretically would verify a DRAN signature is being worked on by a team at Neithermind. So I'm sort of contributing to that a little bit and advising, more so getting some people up to speed. So I do think there will be, not sure if we'll still be able to get the performance we need, but that approach isn't being completely abandoned at this time. So I'm definitely in favor of the DRAN approach if it's possible. It's just not apparently possible at this time to me. So that's why I went with commit reveal, which was a known approach.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. That was awesome and very interesting. Thank you so much for presenting all of that. Okay, cool. Do we have any other questions for Nonsense before we move on?
I have one brief one. Do you like with Ethereum moving to proof of stake and having the beacon chain with the BLS threshold signatures, there'll be like a protocol level source of randomness. Do you think that like kind of approach is the most ideal approach to having random numbers? Like if we could get like Ethereum layer 1 block headers into StarkNet, or maybe like StarkNet when it decentralizes the sequencer would have something similar at the protocol level?
Yeah, I think I haven't thought too much about like an L1 to L2 sort of randomness. I do think, at least for games, I think block headers is um, going to be probably sufficient. That's it's kind of a big if. Um, you know, um, block header alone would it guarantee like you wouldn't so block header is still going to be affected by certain things. So I don't know like what like attacks could be done on a block header that
Mm-hmm.
maybe not
Well, I
in the
think,
average case, for a game, but like if you're making like a raffle for like a very rare NFT, then all of a sudden you can throw a few $100,000 a given block header, like
mhm.
some odds, right? Like that's tougher to say, but
Well, I think today, yeah, with Ethereum, miners can basically like influence the block header by choosing to include different transactions. But with the beacon chain, like basically like it's using BLS and threshold signatures to generate like a random number at the protocol level to select like the proof of stake validators that are, responsible for validating particular blocks.
Mhm.
And I think that is a pretty robust source of randomness.
Um,
That sounds better.
But Terence, isn't it the case? Sorry to interject here. Isn't it the case that there's still an issue with the beacon chain because there's I only know this because there's an attack vector where you can basically DOS attack the next validator in line, and by that basically DDoS the network, right? Because as far as my understanding goes, the actual selection of the block proposer or validator in line is actually like pseudo random, right? It's not like fully random at this point, which basically makes it possible for you to look up who is going to be the next validator online, and then you can, DOS attack him
Mhm.
to do that. So there's a proposal in the Ethereum core dev community to kind of eliminate this and make it actually random. But I think that right now it's still pseudo random. So just throwing this in here because I know this from the Ethereum core kind of stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not that's why I was curious, like if you looked into it, because I'm not an expert at it, but it seems like fundamentally solving very similar problems and probably like the robustness of a protocol level one where there's a lot more at stake. I mean, short term, I think like a commit reveal approach is great, and just to move the space forward. I'm just curious, like, yeah, I wonder where um, the end state is. Like, what is like the ideal source of randomness for a blockchain?
Yeah, protocol level sounds like the best sort of solving like the trifecta of like security, cost, and performance. Like that sounds like the best. Grant's pretty good too. Um, at least something DRAND like, which is like a completely independent chain you just post information to. Um, sort of fundamentally, right? Like a random number is, hard for a reason, right? Like we're dealing with uh, a data. We're dealing with an architecture that's like inherently transparent and open. So you'll have to rely, as time you know, we can go up layers and make it cheaper, and then we can, you know, advance like the cryptography to make it cheaper or allow for different features. So it's a sort of incremental thing, I think, till we get something that satisfies security, performance, and cost. For every app, there's like a single VRF. I think for now there'll be a few different VRFs for different apps.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And I think this is a great contribution to the gaming ecosystem. So excited to use it.
All right, awesome. All right, so that's the VRF topic. Very exciting stuff. And again, I just want to quickly reiterate here that I could be wrong about the validator stuff, but I'm pretty sure that this is still an open attack vector because it's like pseudo-randomly generated and not actually truly random at the protocol level. But yeah, with that out of the way, I think we can hand the mic to you, Terrence, and see what you've been up to with Cartridge and what kind of features you have implemented and what that's all about.
Sweet, awesome. I'd love to share what we've been working on. So yeah, so I don't know, I started getting involved in the StarkNet ecosystem like maybe like October last year through Dope Wars. I was one of the original creators of Dope Wars, and we did a bunch of stuff. And Parama came into Discord at one point and was like, "Hey, it would be really cool to build the Dope Wars game on StarkNet." And so he started down that path, like obviously very early on in the StarkNet ecosystem, building out like the game engine and stuff like that. And even today, it's still in relatively mature shape, even though the development of it has kind of slowed down. And we're working on figuring out a path forward because the Dope Wars DAO is like a completely community-owned project, so there's no like centralized entity like driving its development. So a lot of the contributions kind of come externally by people that are interested in it. So anyway, just an aside, we're still planning to bring like roll your own game to StarkNet at some point in the near future. But yeah, during the development of Roll Your Own, I kind of like realized the power of StarkNet and what it brings to gaming and the ability to do like actual like interesting things on chain for games. But also recognize a lot of the limitations that existed. We built something really cool with Upper Parama with Roll Your Own, but it was pretty clear that the path to getting it to market and then getting people to actually play it was like very far away. So that led to the creation of Cartridge, which I co-founded with Calvin, who's hanging out in the call here. He's one of the original designers for Dope Wars as well. And the goal of Cartridge is basically we call ourselves the StarkNet gaming console, and it's to provide similar APIs that you would get from native gaming consoles. So looking at StarkNet basically as a platform and providing distribution and different horizontal APIs around player profile management and questing and stuff like that. And really just making it super easy for people to start interacting and playing games on StarkNet. And so we've been working on this for the last few months and are planning to launch our alpha in the next couple of weeks. We're working with like basically like all of the games on StarkNet right now who are going to be listed in the Cartridge Arcade, and then we have a few other integration points that we're working with, and I can walk you through a quick demonstration of what that looks like. And I would love, yeah, I mean, we're very early on. We're very focused on serving the StarkNet gaming community, and so we want to build things that gaming developers think are useful and necessary to build successful games, but maybe like are a little bit orthogonal to the game itself and are common concerns that a lot of games will have. So helping develop those things so developers can focus on the core game implementations themselves. So I'll walk you through like a prototype that we have to show you the different pieces of the product. So one of the paths, you obviously you can come into the Cartridge ecosystem from a game. If you're trying to onboard like a net new user, they can click, claim starter pack, and I'll talk a little bit about starter packs in a second. They go to the controller creation screen. So this is like a user that doesn't have an existing cartridge controller. You create an account. One of the things that we've been spending a lot of effort on is supporting WebAuthn signature verification on StarkNet, which is something that's enabled by account abstraction. So that allows you to basically create a public-private key pair with your device. Like if you have an iPhone or an Android phone or a laptop, you can, almost all devices these days have the ability to securely create and store these credentials, and there's a standard called WebAuthn that the industry is moving towards. So like integrating that verification basically means that people no longer need to worry about mnemonic phrases or synchronizing keys or backing up keys. A lot of that responsibility in like the simplest cases is delegated to Apple or Google, who by nature of using their devices, you're kind of trusting them anyways. And I think like a lot of users would be fine with making that trade-off. So anyways, you can come to their accounts. You can, on desktop, you can use your Touch ID. That creates an account for you. It generates a key pair that we store inside the smart contract. And with passkeys, which are launching at the end of this year from Google and Apple, the credentials will automatically be synchronized across all your devices as well. So then if you go, for example, if you come to cartridge on your mobile device or your desktop device, you can use the same credentials without having to worry about like how do you get it from one device to another. There's no like copying or emailing or whatever mnemonic phrases in order to do it. So once you have an account, like the next step, like right now one of the focuses is onboarding players into the ecosystem. On testnet, this will all be done very automatically. On mainnet, we're supporting 3 different paths to onboarding users. Like one is like you're a native Ethereum user. So maybe you have a MetaMask. We'll facilitate like the bridging of funds. So you send like something to a layer 1 contract, and then we issue everything on StarkNet, like basically instantaneously. You don't have to wait for the bridge and all this stuff to work before you can to like communicate between them before you can start interacting with the game. If you are on StarkNet, we're working with like Argent and Ledger to build like a generic plugin account architecture. And so the cartridge controller is a plugin. So you can have, if you have an existing Argent account, you can potentially like connect it and install the controller as a plugin to your Argent account. And now you have both like the best worlds of Argent and cartridge at the same time. If you don't have an account, you can create a new one, and then in the future, you can install like the Argent security module, for example, or like some other plugins that people are working on. Like I know there's like the Guild one and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited about that, and then as well as supporting onboarding from credit card, which I think like will be great for net new users that are trying to play games but don't really care necessarily that they're on the blockchain, just want to play like fun games, and that's really the biggest goal, right? On the left here, you can see the starter pack. So if we're working with specific games with basically what we call starter packs, and it's the items that you need to play a game. So in the case of dope wars, like you need a hustler, you need some paper. So we'll automatically, like when you provision your controller, give you those assets. We're working, with No Game and some of the other games to Brick and stuff to build like what does the starter pack look like for those games. So when players, do one single action, get an account, get the things they need to play with, and can start like interacting with the game very easily. Another thing that we're doing as part of Cartridge is we give you a procedurally generated NFT avatar. And so this is an avatar, I'll show you a little bit more in a second, that evolves over time as you interact with the StarkNet gaming ecosystem. So let's say you complete your transaction, we install it in the Argent controller, and your controller is now set up. So this is the controller UI. In here, you can see, like this tokens, inventory, quests. This is just like a prototype so only demonstrating like the quest functionality, but basically, you have quests that you can do. The first one is to create your controller, which you can claim. You claim it and you get 100 points, and your profile like starts building up. So we're one of the things that we think like is going to be cool is having this on-chain gamer profile with like some score associated with it that players can build up by interacting with different games. So if you help out like beta test, like Realms or No Game or Iker or these different games, you can potentially earn some points to your gamer profile that might be useful in the future for different things. So here's another example of a quest. You can connect your Discord, claim it, and we're probably going to integrate like the Stark ID stuff here that the Iker and Imperium team have been working on. And so we have like a single source of truth for account attestations. And so yeah, once you have that all hooked up, you earn some more points and your profile mutates. And so yeah, the kind of gamifying the experience of managing your player profile. And then yeah, we're working with a few different like games as part of like the beta that we're going to roll out. Like we have an alpha that's launching in a couple weeks, in the beta that's going to be more deeply integrated with games. Probably going to be a month or so down the line. And different games are going to have some of their own quests pushed into here. So there's like, some games have their own native questing system, and in that case, they can surface quests in here, so they can kind of push quests to players. And then other games like want questing systems, but they don't have the capacity necessarily build it out themselves. So they can leverage like our questing architecture to build a questing system for themselves, which will be displayed in here, and players can be rewarded with points or tokens in their own game, and kind of build up that component of their player profile. And yeah, so that's one other interesting, like I think, integration point that we're working with games with. Let me see. I'll show you maybe, let me see if I have the arcade in here. I think I need to go, 1 second.
Hey, Terrence, it's in the app navigation proto or tab.
Okay. Maybe I'll just show the influence one here, which is pretty cool. So this one, yeah, this is like the arcade, front page of the arcade. It's kind of like the distribution point for games in the StarkNet gaming ecosystem. These are some of the games that we're working with integrating into the platform. When you click on a game, you obviously go to the game's profile. Players can learn about games. They can find different information about it, find some screenshots or media assets. They can hop right into the game by claiming the starter pack. And view. So like we think this is going to be a powerful integration point for different auxiliary protocols for games. So in the case of a lot of games, you have maybe some repeated action that you need to take, and you want to integrate with Yagi. You want a simple way to schedule some kind of gaming specific task with Yagi. Or there might be like people that have developed like mods for your game that want to be able to surface those that are outside of the core game implementation, that maybe like help management of different resources and stuff like that. So we're excited to explore what that would potentially look like, or like maybe DeFi protocols with like NFT loaning marketplaces, like kind of like Zapper for games, and then again like a game specific quest interface. So yeah, I mean that's high level what we've been working on. The application itself, like I mentioned, development's coming along pretty well, and we'll have a lot more to share in the next few weeks. But yeah, I would love to hear like any questions or feedback you guys might have.
I love it. It looks amazing. I have a question if nobody else has a question. For the quest system, I think you said that games that have a native quest system, they can just integrate that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, as an example, and Torgal is here, Iker has their own questing system. I mean, I think like they're really the only people that have their own questing system right now. But I imagine that other games will want that as well in the future. And so one of the things that we're trying to figure out is what exactly that looks like. But we definitely will have the ability for, like you can think of Quest inside the cartridge controller almost similar to iOS notifications in a sense. It's a way for a game to push things into a player's controller to say like, hey, like here's a quest you can do. And then for, obviously user can earn reputation rewards and stuff like that from it. But yeah, definitely want to support that kind of architecture as well.
That's awesome. I love it. I love that it's basically modular, right? You can just integrate the existing parts of a game and basically just notify the users in that sense. I think it's really awesome, really slick, and a good idea. Yeah, love it. I don't have any other questions off the top of my head. I do want to mention that the account obsession stuff with WebAuth is really cool. It's really awesome. I think that's, the kind of difference in UX that it makes is just unprecedented, right? You don't get that on any other blockchain. That's awesome. Yeah, do we have any other questions? Or Terrence, if you want to say something.
Quick question on my end. First of all,
no, I was just going to say, I mean, I think the WebAuthn stuff is going to be a game changer. Like one of our, North Stars is that if someone shares a link inside of a tweet to a game on StarkNet, you should be able to click the tweet and play the game, not like go to a browser, install the plugin, like you buy, like the kind of 10-step process. I don't know if you saw, like if you played No Game, there's a document that's like 10 steps before you get to the game, like compressing all of that into just one step is really the goal, so people can just play the game.
That's awesome.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like, I think now, right, everyone's sort of putting up their games and whatnot, but it'd be interesting to sort of see, I guess, the analytics of what ramps people are using to play certain games. Is it, the credit card, or is it from L1 or something like that? I don't know. It'd be cool. That could be shared with the different game companies or game projects.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think for sure, yeah, I think publishers will definitely want some insights into interactions with their games, and it's definitely something I think we should provide at some point in the future.
I think Big Sky had a question. Big Sky Pony, are you there? I think you wanted to ask something.
yeah, I was asking. First of all, that was just two insanely awesome presentations on the VRF and the cartridge. That cartridge UI, that's not live, right? I'm on the website now trying to click stuff and it's not working.
Perhaps some technical difficulties. Oh, wait, we see there's a chat inside of like the text chat. What do you think about being integrated in AlpZone Alpverse? It would be cool if you can interact with cartridge in a 3D way via virtual arcade machine, like playing games in the game. I'm not sure what AlpZone Alpverse is, but I love the idea. I think it sounds like a really cool idea. We actually, with Dope Wars, there's another version of the game, which is like a 2D top-down like RPG game. And we have like they developed like a Paramus arcade with a similar goal of basically providing, like arcade games where people can go start play other games. I think that's a great idea.
So AltZone is very similar to like Decentraland or Sandbox. Sandbox, I think it's called Sandbox, right? Where you have like a 3D world with NFTs and you can walk around in it. I think they threw like a party like a couple of days ago to kind of test it in the 3D environment. And so it's like this kind of metaverse kind of thing that takes advantage of StarkNet's capabilities and stuff like that. So I think it's cool. Should probably talk to them to integrate them into cartridge. Cool.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's on StarkNet?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Sweet. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Awesome. And as for Big Sky's question, are there technical difficulties right now, or is everything working all right?
I didn't hear it. Did he ask a question?
Oh yeah, he
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
No worries.
sometimes that happens.
No worries at all. He said basically he went to the cartridge website and he was clicking stuff and nothing worked and nothing happened. So he was asking if it's live or if there are technical difficulties right now.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So it's a very early preview of the site. It's not meant to be interacted with yet. Like we kind of, yeah. So now, right now, you can just see like the first page. We've gated all the access to the other features. So it's working as intended, but the intention is that it doesn't work right now.
Does that?
So we're gonna.
Sorry, go
What's
ahead.
that?
Go ahead.
But yeah, we just we have like a bunch of stuff behind some flags that we'll release all together rather than like incrementally as we build the product.
Gotcha. Does that answer your question, Big Sky? I would assume it does, but maybe we have some communication issues here, but that's fine. All right. Any other questions?
Milan,
Or yeah, go
looks
ahead.
like Milan dropped a question in the text chat. He said, "Can you talk a little bit more about the plugin system? Will every game be able to build their own UI inside cartridge via plugins?" So right now, like with cartridge, we're not trying to display games inside of like our own Chrome. So the cartridge controller is just a regular, implements the same like wallet interface. So it's really, something that comes, we onboard a player and then we redirect them to your game, and they just land in your game with the cartridge controller already connected. And the game can, choose to support cartridge controller as well as other wallets like Argent or whatever. It would just be like one of the options for them. So the integration for a game, from a game perspective, is super easy. I don't know if like potentially, I think it becomes quite challenging to start like trying to embed games inside of the application. I mean, maybe if people really want that, we would explore how to make that happen. But right now, that's not the plan.
All right, awesome. Any other questions before we drop? We have like 5 minutes left, so now's the time to ask anything about cartridge. All right, if we don't have any questions, then I think we can wrap up this call. It was amazing to see all of this. Cartridge, super exciting in my opinion. Very, very incredible UX. I think that's sorely needed in blockchain games to make it much more accessible to people. And VRF obviously is very exciting on a technical level, which is always amazing to see. But yeah, let's wrap up this call. Thanks so much to Nonsense. He already had to drop, but I'm going to say it anyway. And thank you so much, Terrence, for presenting Cartridge and what it does. So yeah, that's it. Have a great day, guys. And we're going to see you guys next week, hopefully. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.